Go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we're here for Pasco Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I understand, and I wasn't here the last time, but I understand from Ms. Garza that there was not a quorum for the last time, so there was no meeting. So the minutes that still have to be approved are the minutes from the meeting of June 11th, 2025. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do we want to do roll call first?
Sure, it would be fine.
Okay, we have Smith. Here. Belush. Here. Butera.
Here.
Skirla. Here. Spinizzola.
Here.
Swanson.
Here.
Jorgensen. Here. Thank you.
Don't remember exactly who was here the last time on June 11th, so it was a little while ago, but everybody has paperwork that I'll be in a position, everything through those minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swanson. There's a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Garza, if we can go ahead and call for a vote, please.
Spinizzola.
I'll abstain as I was not present.
Skirla. Yes. Belush. Yes. Butera.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
And Jorgensen. Yes. Thank you.
So I think as far as new business, we're ready to begin and Ms. Ratman, you will want to introduce yourself, or we can introduce you, or maybe Ms. Garza or Mr. Palinkas can introduce you.
Introduce yourself.
However you want.
I guess we have our consultants from Vanderwall and Associates, a new person who's sort of assigned to us. I can give you some background, a local resident of the village and of the area, worked in the area for a while, so if I can introduce yourself to Hillary Rotman.
Been local government in Illinois for a while, but the past 7 years I was in the city of Beloit. And now I'm with Vanderwall, so happy to be here.
And she's around here. Feel free to reach out to her. She'll be sort of our primary contact for your zoning meetings. You'll see her here in person, which will be sort of nice. I think we like having Jackie also remote, but it's also sometimes nice to have in person. And so we'll have her here in person. Feel free to reach out with questions. She's on that email list. You got, contact her if you have questions before the meetings about any of the items coming up or just zoning in general. Just a lot of experience with that. So just feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, and I would just say that Mr. Rahman and I were talking a little bit before the meeting started. And as Mr. Palinkas said, her biggest thing that you had indicated is that you're just available, not anytime, but that you're available for any questions or things that would come up. And then it's kind of important because a lot of times we don't know the planning or the processing and that the staff's going through on a regular basis. So I'm sure the board would have significant questions in terms of different changes to the text, to the zoning, and things that your company is recommending to the village. Appreciate it all there.
Yep, if you have questions or want something explained or broke down, happy to do that. I want you guys to feel informed and have the information you need to make the best decision.
Okay, thank you. Is there a contact number or just Mr. Palinkas have that for the office number?
We can send it out to you.
Sure.
To the
That would be fine.
members.
Yeah, just need a personal number.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds really good. Okay, and so the Mr. Palinkas is the next thing on the agenda. It looks like a public hearing for a variance. Is that correct?
Also, we have Jackie's here as well.
Okay. Hello,
Up on the screen. And she's still here on this one because she's one who's been doing all of these previous ones with us. So it's good transition time. You can turn over to Jackie.
Right.
Answer those questions and move that forward.
Great. So if you're happy with that, I'll provide an overview of what this item is. So this is a request for a variance. A variance allows a property owner to vary from the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And so in order to grant a variance, the ZBA has to make a finding that the request for the variance actually meets the criteria for a variance that's stated in the zoning code. So you'll see on the staff report, I've provided example findings for this zoning board of appeal to use that references this project and how I feel it meets the findings and the criteria for variances. Just as a quick overview, variances aren't intended to be used often. They're really intended to be used in special circumstances in which a literal enforcement of the zoning code would be really burdensome or provide a substantial hardship to a property owner. So it's not simply that the property owner doesn't want to comply with the code or doesn't want to spend a little more money in order to comply with the code. It really has to be something that's unique to the property, wouldn't apply to other properties in the area with similar zoning, and then would kind of right the hardship that they might face by literally following the code. So we always look at variances very carefully to make sure that the request does meet our criteria before we consider approval. This project is specifically requesting a variance for some development on the north side of their property. Our zoning ordinance requires perimeter landscaping 7 feet in width around the edge of parking areas. And when there's no landscaping provided, we also require a 3-foot paving setback in parking areas. In this case, that's particularly difficult for this property owner because they have an overhead garage door on the north side of their property, and their building is somewhat close to the north lot line. And so if they are proposing a future parking lot expansion. And if we were to enforce the 7 feet of landscaping along the north property line, there wouldn't be enough room for two-way traffic on the north side of the building. And there also wouldn't be enough room to navigate trucks in and out of the garage door on the north side. Thanks. Joe is just pulling up a drawing that's showing conceptually what they are proposing. This evening, we're just considering the variance and not the design of the parking lot itself. So if the parking lot variance, if the variance that they're requesting were to be approved, the applicant would go and draw a more final and complete plan for their new parking lot. But at this time, they just want to know if the village would consider this variance before they take the project any further. So as I noted in my staff memo, I feel that they do meet the criteria for a variance because, again, because they couldn't have two-way traffic on the north side of the building or access that garage door if we were to have them meet that 7-foot setback with landscaping on the north side. That's a great exhibit right there. And so I'm not sure if the applicant is here, but I'm sure you could ask them to explain more about the project if you have any additional questions. I guess just a few other things I want to note about variances is that the way they work is that the Zoning Board of Appeal reviews the project, holds a public hearing, listens to any public testimony at that public hearing, and then makes their findings and recommendation to the village board. And so then the village board would provide final approval at a subsequent village board meeting. So with that, staff recommends approval of the requested variance, including the findings of fact, including in the staff report, and any other conditions of approval that may be added by the Zoning Board of Appeal.
Thank you very much. Is there a representative from Mark's Auto here? Good evening. Make some comments.
No, I mean, the way she explained it, it's almost impossible for us to actually create that 7 foot of variance.
Maybe
Here's a public hearing I'm sworn in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, maybe you can introduce yourself and we'll swear you in.
Sorry, my name is Juan, part owner of Marcelo Service, and we are looking to expand the parking lot. There's really a very, very small parking lot in that facility. And it is something that would help, the establishment as well and everything around us, but it is almost really hard on the north side to do anything because the property next to us is right on the edge.
And you want to, sworn in, Mr. At this point, okay, everything that you're saying is true and correct, and you believe that in the best interest of Mark's Auto Services, is that right?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add to this to allow for this project and experience that you're seeking?
No,
Is there any questions that the board may have?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, when we're looking at these, so it's okay for us to look at potential variances in the future without any real plans? Do you know what I mean? Like, there isn't a real plan right now, there's no design review.
I would say this is very
Really?
close. This is very close to what the final plan would be.
Yeah, I think this probably is essentially the plan they're looking for. Yeah,
So are you planning on going forward with the project then?
but it's allowed, yes.
I don't know that, our consultants in Vanderwall, as well as representatives from Mark and their engineers, have gone through several different iterations of this to get to this point. I think they asked for some other things before. This is what the sort of we landed on for this property. So I think this is probably pretty much what you're planning on doing.
Yes, that's correct.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you were just looking to see if potential for the future, but you are actually going forward with it.
Is there anyone else that has any questions?
The only question I have is, will there be any landscaping at all?
There would be landscaping, it was already factored, I believe, when the engineers and they came out and looked at it and surveyed the land. I'm just 100% not sure exactly where it is yet, but there would be landscaping also. Yeah.
And I'll just add, the code requires that 7-foot perimeter landscaping on the east and the south sides of the property, and that's shown in this conceptual drawing here.
Questions?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So
I
tiny.
think it's just where the zero setback against the property.
That's correct. And I believe that the code also requires one landscaped island. So I've advised the property owner and the applicant and their engineer that that would need to be added when they come through for final approval of the parking lot design.
Are there any other questions from the board? Or any other information that's required or anything that anyone else wants to get to this? It would be prepared to vote on the variance. So it's hard.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry.
And then to adopt the findings of fact.
Yes.
I second the motion.
Jorgensen?
Yeah.
Swanson,
Yes.
Belushi,
Yes.
Scrivener,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
and Buterro,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes, thank you.
And then the next new business, the design review, Mr. Colicas, I believe, for that accessory storage structure. Terrace, go to that. Is there a representative from Fracon Documents?
Yep.
Mr. Henning,
Yes, sir.
we want to swear Mr. Henning in at this point. Sorry, you can swear Mr. Henning.
I think probably, yeah.
Okay, well, I can go ahead and do that. Again, I'm very new to the chairman role, so.
It's different,
I'm used to
different places.
I go different places, usually I'm in court arguing about things, I guess, so, I'll go. And, Mr. Henning, I swear to tell the truth and to adequately, tell the board what you feel is appropriate about the variance and the design approval that
Yes.
that you're asking for.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to tell us a little bit about the situation and the circumstances? All of us, we have a packet for all of us, and we all have an opportunity to look at that in advance. I know there were some photographs and there was comment by, believe from, Jessica's Restaurant, the owner of Jessica's over there. So maybe if you can go ahead, because I did have a couple of questions, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sure. The idea is to expand our rental ability. Our showroom is very small. And we have a large amount of rental bikes that we're trying to really start promoting more to bring the community out here. And I think the rentals are starting to really take effect. They're becoming very popular. It brings people out to our area. It allows people to come out here and carouse the trails in the town and all the local community businesses. We've been building community partnerships with different companies, restaurants, ice cream, you name it. We're trying to talk to people so it brings kind of an attraction out here, and we need the space. So we thought that this would be a really great way to expand the function of our store, not to use it as storage, but to use it as a functioning arm for the rentals. So when somebody comes, I can move all the rentals into the storage container and then go and get them and bring them in and out as people come to use them. It would be a really great asset for us to expand the store, even for sales and showroom. And then it gives more visibility. It's a 20-foot container, got a 16-foot overhead door in it. You can see in the picture. We plan to side it. It's a decent looking container, but up close, it's still got a few things. And so we thought we'd go ahead and fur it out and put a nice siding on it. So to give it a nice appeal. I think we gave a couple of examples of the siding and materials that would be used. We want to do more of a steel siding, so it kind of still has somewhat of a container look to it. I think that's becoming a popular fad out there. People are using containers for these siding. There's a rendering of something that would appear very similar. When we get done, we'll have just a small sign on for I think we gave some example of the size, just of our logo and something like that. Yeah, exactly. That would be on this back side of it toward the entrance. Well, yeah, I think it would be a great advancement for us and a good tool for us to use to hopefully bring more people into the community and have some fun around here.
Maybe for everyone who doesn't know exactly what your business is if you can just explain what
Yeah.
those are. I mean, I passed it 100 times.
Yeah.
And again, I kind of think, oh, they do some rentals on some bikes and different.
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
So
well-
maybe if you can just go ahead and tell us a little bit.
Sure. Rock Cutty Bikes, we sell electric bicycles, electric assist. And we've been doing it for now, this is our 4th year. Started actually for my son. I have an autistic 19-year-old that we actually started this for. He's my partner. And we've been building that for him and expanding it. I have my older son that also came along and now he's store manager and we're making a nice family business here. So the sales have been really good. The community's been great, welcoming us in. The rentals is just a really good key for really getting people to notice what e-bikes can do for them. Getting people like myself out there riding again. At 6 years old, I never thought I'd ridden a bike for 2,000 miles and it's kind of a great thing. So it's a big turn on. It's people that are coming into the store are loving to spend time here. They love the trails and the community atmosphere that we have. Read some of our reviews, you'll see positive things. So I think we bring a positivity to the community, and so we want to expand here.
As far as, you've answered a little bit of the question, and then one of the questions that, they had from the, Ascana, hospitality group. Is that photo that you had showed with the siding that you're gonna put on, that's pretty much what you think it's gonna look like, is that?
It's gonna be very similar. I mean, you can only get so close with a
Sure.
computerized rendering, but yeah, it'll have some nice gray, dark gray siding on it. It'll be well done. And it's pretty simple. It's got the nice overhead door on it already. So I don't have to do much with that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. It's fairly simple. It doesn't have to be manned. We can do everything from the store. We're, only two units away from the edge of the building, so we can walk right out there, open it up, give people their rental. They'll be returning it to the store, but we're the only ones that are gonna be functionally in and out of the container.
And from your site plan, is it right, is it that area that's right, at the end of the building, like between where the road goes by where Walgreens is?
Right by the grass, yep,
Where you're gonna put it, cause there's a little space there.
correct. Yeah, it was the only place that wasn't really in anybody's way. It was off the property line enough. And the landlord would agree to let me have it there, so I think that you guys all kind of threw out ideas when we had talked originally of where it might be good, and even up front would be great right on the trail, would be super for me, but the landlord didn't want me right up front, so I'm like, well, okay, I'll take this spot back here, so it seems to fit the criteria.
I didn't have any other questions. Is there anyone else that has some questions about?
Does it have to have any
Black
landscape?
spot, there's all the bigger it is.
No, if we have part of the house tonight.
Did you say this was gonna be unmanned?
Correct,
So it's just gonna be closed up all the time unless somebody comes into the store?
correct.
So it's not really a storefront, then it's a storage building.
Well, it's part of the store. I mean, it's a functional alarm.
My concern is the location there. That's already a bad area for visual coming in and out of those parking lots.
Okay, if it's not, it's just gonna be, is it gonna be unmanned? Of course, when the store is closed, but when the store is open, is that going to be, is the door gonna be open? Is there someone that's gonna be there?
Well, we can certainly open the door and we have a way to lock the bike so that people can see.
Sure.
It is made to call attention to them being there. We're kind of calling the Rock Cut Rental Hut and giving it that kind of vibe. It's, I guess you could draw a fine line there, whether it's storage or not. It is a place to put our rental bikes so that we can utilize our unit in the building more efficiently. And it brings attention to it further out there where people are riding in and out and by. It is only an 8-foot tall container, so it's not large. It doesn't cover a lot of space. It doesn't block off a whole lot. If you look at where the parking lot is and where that little black dot is, that's where it's at. The only visual that we're really cutting off is perhaps part of the cigarette store or vape store right there, but I haven't heard any issues there. They're opening the phone part on the far corner, but we're far enough over here that we're really not blocking them. So I don't know.
Any other concerns or questions that anyone has?
Well, is there anyone present here that objects to this being constructed?
Doesn't look like it. Nobody has spoken up. Okay, is there anybody else from the board that has any other questions or concerns that they would like the applicant to explain?
The rendering makes it look more like a storefront, and if I am out on an afternoon and I wanna pull up to this rental hut on a Saturday afternoon and rent a bike, I can't do that without going into your store, right?
At this time, yeah, in the beginning, if it becomes well enough and more popular, And you gotta start somewhere, you know, so if it becomes something like that where people are in and out of there that much. And it becomes necessary to have somebody there, that would be okay. We also wanna look at cost effectiveness of having an employee sitting there. You know, when we're in the store, we can do multiple different tasks. But I think just still having it there with the name on it, with the, you know, looking attractive and calling out to come and rent. I think we're still covering that ground, you know, of making it an attractive attraction for people. Whether they have to walk 25 feet to the front door or not is, I don't think that much of a burden for anyone.
I have a question. So the tenants of that building have been polled by the owner and they're not gonna come up with a problem with this.
I've talked to everybody. I don't know that the landlord has talked to anybody. If anybody had a problem by now, that may have risen that issue with the landlord, and
Okay.
he's not mentioned anything to me. I haven't gotten any kind of hostile feedback from anybody there. I think we're all kind of a nice unit over there, you know, we're trying to, actually, some of us are fairly new, trying to make a real good, I guess, connection over there, you know. We're all looking out for each other, so, I think they're all kind of for it, you know, right now. It's gonna bring more, eyeballs their way.
Yeah.
You know, this is very attractive. People are coming and starting to call and they're gonna see and visit other stores in Jessica's and quite frankly, all of the other businesses that we're trying to build these, community partnerships with. It's all part of the package of bringing this type of, attraction to the community. You know, so you gotta start with something. And I thought this was kind of a cool, attractive way to do it. We don't get a lot of notice with that little unit in the store, you know, so we can call out a little more attention in a nice way.
Trailer at your house.
That's where it's sitting in the driveway right now, yeah. Yeah, well, you know, again, I bought that because we originally were going to potentially use that at the expansion at Porter Park when they were gonna connect the bike path. We talked with the person that was in charge last, Scott, I believe was had brought that to their attention, and we bought the container for that purpose originally. And we still want to maybe do that when that expansion happens, but that takes time. And so we want to start now to try to get, you know, this whole thing kind of rolling, people knowing we're here. And by the time that all happens, if we then can pick up that container and put it down there and or put another one down there. I have another 40-footer just in case you guys want to know. Down the road, you know. So yeah, this is just kind of for us to start somewhere and start trying to build this for the community.
Is this shed just gonna be just for the rental bikes?
Correct.
And is that gonna be open for people to want to rent?
Well, that was the question, you know, there is going to be someone very close and within the storefront. There'll be signage on it, you know, small signs to come into the store. If it becomes a requirement, it would be a burden to have someone sit there all day. You know, the rentals haven't become fluid enough yet, but we're doing pretty good. You know, they're starting to come more and more. You know, until we get it out there, you know. When they say build it and they will come, right? You know, that's what we're doing.
You're gonna side it in a dark gray, you said?
Yeah, basically like that.
That door color, are you changing that or is that gonna stay that whitish?
The
color?
door is a cream color. I think it's fairly close to some of the other color schemes on that. If it looks awful, it's a brand new door, so there's nothing ugly about it. I don't think it'll look bad with the dark siding with a nice, you know, light colored door. If we need to paint it, we can.
Are you pouring, is there gonna be any foundation under it, or is it just?
No, it's just leveling with on the ground, I think with pavers, there's no the typical thing for that. It's just a solid steel structure, so it'll just sit there.
There's definitely an experiment for us. Which road you came to, well, you talked to Scott prior for the park, but then when we came here, you talked about this location, a
Right.
while ago at this point. And, you know, our first question was, can you even do that here? And so it's really been working with him, you know, the village is obviously trying to expand their Main Street. We've got our commercial accessory units we've got going, as part of the new zoning code. This is sort of the first one of those, just as a trial, run here. That's really what this was just a way to try and expand our retail spaces there and try something different. And when we saw that, like, we'll see if we can do this, we'll bring it to the ZBA and see what your thoughts were on this. But this is really just sort of an experimental trial for the village, a new thing for the village, which we haven't had before previously. See if it works out, see if it's something that would be a fit there.
So is staff recommending?
I can provide a little background on my staff report here. So just for a little, I am recommending approval to answer the question. This is a design review application, so that's something that we do anytime there's new development, so major expansions, new buildings, and this falls under design review. I am recommending approval. I note in my staff report that it does meet all of our requirements for the CG zoning district. There are a few conditions of approval in the staff report, and the ZBA is empowered to add additional conditions of approval. So if there's something such as, if you wanted to see that garage door painted to match the siding, something you could add that's not currently listed in the conditions of approval. Currently, the conditions include just requirements that the applicant use the materials that have been reviewed and approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's signage that will be approved as part of this, consistent with our sign ordinance. That sign needs to be 50% in areas. It's half the size, basically, of the signage on the primary structure. And then they do need to obtain all necessary building permits. Those are the conditions included in my staff report. As I said before, the ZBA could add additional conditions.
Anything else I didn't want to add?
I got a quick question. There's some roofing illustrations in here. Looks like from Menards. Is there gonna be a roof put on it or is it just a flat top like the?
It's a flat top. We're only gonna just put the flashing over it so that there's a drip edge, but it'll look nice.
I have one other question. So it would not be a huge issue for you to paint the door so that it matches the siding?
No, I'm not sure it's gonna be easy, but it could get done.
It's a little hard to tell from the photo. You've got a Chesapeake gray color as an accent. It may be effective to accent that door with perhaps that color. I don't know if it's like a cream. I guess I don't know how it looks. It's kind of hard to tell from the photo.
It's very light. It is kind of a lighter cream. It's almost white.
Yeah.
So until I get the gray on there, I wasn't really sure how that was gonna pop or not. If it looks dorky, trust me, I'm gonna change it. I wanna be very attractive. I want it to look nice. Our store, if anybody welcome to come in and to see the kind of vibe we have there. I wish I would be putting my store colors on and it would be as loud as my truck if you haven't seen my truck parked up there. You know, cause it calls attention. It's bright and exciting. But yeah, I'll do whatever you want. We all gotta work together, so I don't have a problem with it.
If I can ask a question, Mr. Kalinkas, if Ms. Palush has asked that a couple of times about the coloring that. If we wanted to make that a condition, how do we go about it? So that's the way.
When you make your motion to approve this, make a motion to approve with the conditions recommended by staff as well as this following condition, additional condition. We'll just say what, at least add that as part of your motion.
Ms. Palush, is there anything that you want to add towards that?
Even if you would rather have the image of it being open during business hours and that was important to you, you know, I could certainly still lock the bikes inside the container, you know, and so I could keep the door open and have, you know, but they would just have signage to come inside when they walk in and look at what's there. But at least it would lead people to say, hey, there's bikes in there. Oh, there's rentals here. So if you're thinking that's a concern, I'm more than happy to do something that would, expose us more to look more like an active store rather than if people think it's just a container, maybe they would get the wrong idea. I understand.
Well, my understanding was it was basically for storing your excess inventory of bikes, correct?
It's restoring the rentals specifically, no excess storage for any other bikes. I have a warehouse in Rockford. I don't need such storage. In fact, in the wintertime, if you feel that the rules are that we don't use it for storage, we close in the wintertime. I'm more than happy to remove all the rentals, put them in the warehouse, so it's only active when we're in business. I don't have a problem with that either. I truly just want to use it as an active arm of our business.
At this point, someone would like, and the party that would like to make a motion, and if there's conditions that you'd like to add to that motion, you can go ahead and start from that point.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve with staff conditions. As well as I think that the garage door should be a matching color to the siding or in the same similar shade.
Okay,
So that there is no, I'm sorry, was that?
Uniformity.
Yeah, uniformity, correct. That's all I want to see. I would just like to see that and not,
as long as the accents and not yes, no problem.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Uniform color of the unit would look very nice.
So we're not gonna vote in piecemeal. Is there any other conditions that maybe anyone else would like to amend their motion to? Or if it's just the color that Ms. Bush indicated.
Well, that'd be fine, let's solve it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, maybe if we can go ahead and then there's a second, and then we can go ahead and call the vote, please.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
Skrillex,
Yes.
Belushi,
Yes.
Buterra,
Yes.
Swanton,
Yes.
Jorgensen,
Yeah.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes. Ms. Sylvester, you'd be here to do a presentation for. I thought there was next on the agenda, they had it split out, that,
Yeah, it looks like it's not.
It's ready to be here for the Nancy Drive.
What line item is that?
so this was number 5, and then it looked like number 6. And maybe Mr. Colinkus could explain the difference between both of those, that's kind of that out. So one was the
Oh,
replan.
you can have, I mean, quick, call that next number 5, next item, then we can have Jackie start going through it. And she
Okay, that would be
the,
Okay,
what the items are and.
Great.
Yeah.
that would be fine, thank you.
So number 5, if I just maybe read off the title, just so we know. what
Oh,
we're
sure.
doing.
This is a request for a zoning amendment to change the zoning of properties from CR to R1. The properties are John C. Drive, JONCEY Drive, 12052 and 12126.
All right, I'll start with an overview.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a proposed zoning map amendment for those 2 properties on Johnson Drive. Sometimes we will call that a rezoning. The pink parcel outlining in green in the middle of your screen are the 2 parcels are those pink parcels on the map there. When we are rezoning properties, the zoning board of appeals would hold a public hearing. And then they would consider the proposal and then make their recommendation to the village board. And then the village board would provide final approval at their next meeting. The request here is for a change for those 2 pink lots on the map here, from the CR zoning district, which is a commercial zoning district, to the R1 single family residential district. These 2 lots are currently vacant. They were platted as part of the Kinnickinnick Creekside subdivision, and thank you. And the property owner is looking to redo these as single family. At a future meeting, the village board will consider a proposed replat in which they would reconfigure these 2 lots into 6 single-family residential lots. That's something that gets approved at the village board level, so that's provided on this agenda for information for the ZBA. So at this time, for agenda item number 5, you're just considering the zoning change. Staff's reviewed this, as you can see in the drawing here, changing this to R1 would match adjacent pattern of zoning in the surrounding area. We don't feel that it would be detrimental to other properties for these vacant lots to be zoned residential. And I feel that it aligns with the current market. Right now, it's a little challenging for commercial. There's plenty of other commercial sites in the area. And so, in my opinion, a change to residential here would be prudent and suitable for this area. So my staff report does include findings. So just like the variance, we need to include findings when we make changes to the zoning map. So those are included in the staff report. And so I would recommend approval of the zoning map amendment, including the finding of facts included in the staff report.
What is the blue area? What covers that? Like, is that what they want? Okay, that's what I thought.
Urban transitional is what UT is.
Yeah.
That's the church. This is Willowbrook and Elevator, if you can,
Mhm.
for those, yeah, those.
I'm just trying to
hopefully you
picture-
can see it, yeah.
Trying to picture, you know, again, you drive by it all the time, and then when you got a picture, it really think about it, but, okay, that's where Life Church is over there, that blue area. Okay. Is there anything else that, or anything the board would like to ask?
Do they need someone here to present it?
Certainly, I mean, it's,
I think we just have to vote on it because it makes sense to me. I never liked the commercial zoning there. With a residential neighborhood right there, it didn't go well. I don't think. And no one has picked up and built out anything there except the dentist.
I agree. 6 lots.
Yeah, how big will each lot be?
They're about 25,000.
Yeah.
22 is the smallest.
Yeah, they're decent.
And these are this is the plat or proposed plat for next item, but this is what this would turn into is those lots, those 6 lots.
All right, at this point, does someone want to make any motion, just for the change of the zoning?
Yes, anybody from the audience who wants
Is there anyone else that would like to comment? I'm sorry, thank you.
Ralph Baxter, just a real quick comment. Can you guys make sure that that's gonna be single family and not multifamily? The reason I bring that up is across the street, you know, from Life Church is now multifamily. Those are fairly big lots. I'm looking at it thinking, really wouldn't want multifamily there, but we've seen this type of thing before where people promise one, and then we end up with multifamily. That's just my thought on it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but especially in that area, it seems like single family should be the preferred development, if you would. So just my thoughts. Thank you.
We make a motion to approve. I know that we're trying to zone it R1, which would be residential 1 family, single family. Right? Could we state something that it would? The intent would be that it would only be R1 ever?
I don't know that you can do that. I mean, I don't think you can restrict it that way. The ZBA and the village board would have to change it to RM. You can sort of see in the photo, I think this is what Mr. Baxter is talking about, is this area here are those new, 2-family, 3-family ones that are multifamilies that are here. So this is RM across the way here. So this is why they were able to build or multifamily that was to the CPA and the village board approved. This would be rezoning to R1, the same as the rest of that subdivision there.
Yeah.
So unless, I mean, they would yes, they can always come and ask for a rezoning, but down in the ZBA, we have to approve that as well as the village board, we have to approve rezoning it to a multifamily or back to CR or back to anything else, I suppose.
Once there's.
So this is R1 and there's only single family allowed. The zoning you're putting in place is single family.
Is there intent to start building houses right away? Okay.
Rehammer?
I don't know who the builder is going to be.
Is there a size? Is there gonna be a size limit? Has to be
It's
bigger?
gonna match the
It's
rest of the
square.
subdivision.
It's gonna have to match the current, the R1 zoning, so there'll be, just by the side, I mean, the next item on here, and I can pull back up here, that. So it's gonna, it would have, I think it's gotta fit on this size limit, so there's, you know, the front yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, I think there's like drainage easement that goes through 78 and 79 there, so. It's gonna be limited in size by the physical property. But I don't know the size of the house, we don't have, we don't have plans for houses yet from any of the developers, they're just going through the process of rezoning it and dividing it back out.
Are they gonna be held to the same covenants and restrictions as the entire neighborhood is? If there are any.
I guess it'd be up to them to do on there, I don't know if that's property, probably still have the same covenants on it, but. Yeah, it'd be a private issue between, I guess, the buyers.
Single family homes make sense there.
And some discussions that we had too about single family versus the commercial right now, especially because Life Church is up there, you know, having. Particularly all the way up to sort of Chalmers Drive there, where it's up to having that being all commercial doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't think of how that neighborhood's developed. And across the street from there is also residential as well, so it probably doesn't. Make a lot of sense to keep that commercial in that area.
Is that other portion, if you're looking at the photograph this way, this still remains commercial, is that correct?
These are still commercial retail and commercial office, yes.
So you got. the
It's
light-
just, yeah, if I wave my mouse around, you can see it, but it's just the two that we're looking at are the ones right next to the wall there.
Okay.
That's the Orthodox office. And then there's an empty
I guess
commercial lot
yeah.
right behind it.
So it would be both of those parcels, is that correct?
Maybe these two parcels here.
And the other two to the right are gonna remain.
Correct.
Okay, that was my question. Is that
Yeah.
gonna remain?
This is only requesting these here. And because there's already a commercial building there, and obviously we'll take them as they come through, but, you know, I think right now keeping that commercial is probably the plan, but. This is just. Yeah, just looking at this one by the UT there.
This would be a way to get some more houses. Any more discussion from the public, any further comments? Any more comments from the board? There a motion that anyone would like to?
I would make a motion to approve the zoning change from CR to R1.
Is there a
Second.
Scars, if you can go ahead and call.
Swanson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Kutera,
Yes.
Scribbler,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
and Belushi.
Yes.
Oh, that takes care, and then,
Oh, Jorgensen, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Alright, so then the next item that was number 6, and that we've kind of discussed that a little bit right now. What we're doing.
Let me just put this on as well, because of the question you had right now, what's going there, it's gonna be this thing that helps you make your decision and you can sort of see what the request is. And this request goes straight to the village board, at next board or next committee meeting. For them to discuss and review the planning process, but. Yeah, it's a proposed. Single family assessment. there's no action needed on that item.
Right, no action on that. And then number 7 is public hearing for the text amendments. And I understood it was going to be just discussion only. And I don't know if we have any further input on it.
This one, I think, is actually.
This
You
is
want
for
to just, yeah,
action.
read out, if you just want to read out the title on there, so we got that on the record, and then Jackie should sort of present what we're talking about. with
Okay,
the-
that would be
Yeah.
fine. Public hearing for a text amendment revising the Village of Brasco zoning ordinance section 15-175. Relating to land divisions in Article 3 residential district regulations.
Great. So I'll translate that for us all.
Okay.
So this is first I'll tell you about the procedure and then we can get into the meat of what is being proposed here. So this is a zoning text amendment. So basically, instead of changing the zoning map, we're changing the words in the zoning code. And the process is very similar to change the words in the zoning code. Like a zoning map, the ZBA would hold a public hearing as they are tonight, consider the proposal and then make a recommendation to the village board. Village board would adopt that at their next meeting. This proposal is there's basically 2 changes proposed. And I understand that these were reviewed at the June meeting by the ZBA, and the ZBA provided some input on this. And so the markup that you see here reflects the proposed changes. The changes that are being proposed, and then the changes highlighted in yellow are those that were changed again to reflect input from the ZBA. Just as a quick refresher, since I know it's been a while since we've all looked at this, the purpose of this, there's basically 2 overarching purposes of these proposed changes. One is to create a new zoning district called the RA, or the Residential Attached Zoning District. So right now the village has 4 residential zoning districts. This would be a 5th new district. This is a specific district exclusively for townhomes. Right now, townhomes are permitted in your RM zoning district and possibly others as well. But townhomes have been identified as a desirable type of housing format in the village. And by creating a special zoning district just for them, that allows the village to kind of have more precise control over exactly where those are located. So if there's so in certain areas, perhaps you wouldn't want to see just apartments or a large apartment complex, but you would want to see townhomes. Using this new zoning district is a way to ensure you see townhomes and not apartments. So it gives you more fine-grained control over where different building formats go. You'll see in the code, the draft code, the new zoning district includes a purpose and intent statement that outlines why this district would exist. It has a list of permitted uses in the district, which is similar to other residential districts. And I should note that includes townhomes as a permitted by right land use. It includes bulk standards for the townhomes. So you'll see, setbacks, lot coverage, things like that. It's established to be more compatible with the townhome format as opposed to other residential formats. We've also included architectural design standards, and I know this body discussed those at length at the June meeting. And then finally, the new zoning district includes outdoor private space requirements. So ensuring that there's a patio or areas for people to have outdoor space for the townhome. Additionally, we had another section that's proposed here as a change to our minor land divisions section. Basically, it's a way for the village to approve a smaller land division. So if a developer is creating 4 parcels or fewer, they can do that through this more streamlined process rather than going through the full tentative plat and final plat process, which can be quite extensive. So it's a more streamlined way to create smaller land divisions. And it's specifically being brought up now because some townhome formats are actually place each townhome on individual lots. and which is like, you know, sometimes they're rental, sometimes they're owner, but having the townhomes on individual lots is more oriented to owner occupied, and that's something that the village does want to encourage. And so proposing these changes to allow for 4 parcels to be created without having to go through the full tentative plat and final planning process would help promote townhomes and streamline the review process for townhomes here in Roscoe. So just to recap the discussion from June, my understanding is that the Zoning Board of Appeals provided some direction on how to improve the proposed text amendment. For the RA zoning district, as I mentioned before, there are design standards that dictate how the building looks and making sure that's an attractive building. And there was a suggestion to include or to prohibit protruding garages or snout houses. So that's like a situation where the garage sticks out from the front of the facade. ZBA did not want to include that limitation, so that has been removed from the draft. Additionally, for the minor land divisions section, the Zoning Board of Appeals suggested that we add sort of a shot clock, limiting the number of minor land divisions that could be completed within a period of 5 years. So that has been added. I think that's a good addition so that somebody doesn't take advantage of this streamlined process to create lots of lots without going through the formal longer process that they really should go through. And then finally, the ZBA wanted to ensure that all land divisions are approved by the village board. And so the draft text does reflect that direction. All right, so just to wrap up here, staff does recommend approval of the proposed text amendments. I've included findings in my staff report, as I did for some of the other items on the agenda. And so when the ZBA is ready to make a motion, I'd advise you to include the recommended findings of fact in your motion. Thanks.
Any public comment? And this was again for discussion only?
No, this is.
Somebody vote on
this is
that?
for-
Okay. Then I was just misunderstanding, so my apologies with that. Okay, is there a motion by anyone to make it this?
I'll make a motion. Second it.
And that's to include the recommendations of staff?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yeah.
Thank you. Second, okay, you can go ahead and call.
Gridlow,
Yes.
Belush,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Jorgensen,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
Butera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Then the next item, public hearing for a text amendment to the zoning ordinance. This is where I got a little bit confused on some of the materials that I have, what this exactly,
Right.
right.
Yep.
I'll just read it into the record and then maybe Mr. Kalikas
I
or
think, yeah, Jackie can probably,
Jackie, if you
Ms.
can
Mitch can probably
do that, sure.
translate that again.
Okay, thank you very much. Is it okay to informally call you Jackie? Is that?
It sure is.
Thank you. Public hearing for a text amendment revising the Village of Roscoe zoning ordinance, Article 7 of Chapter 155, relating to accessory structures and accessory buildings.
All right, so this is another text amendment similar to the item we discussed previously. So again, changing the language that's in the zoning code. This is, I would characterize as somewhat of a cleanup issue that we discovered when we were reviewing permits for swimming pools. Basically, the way we regulate swimming pools is we consider them to be accessory structures. And so they are subject to the setback and other requirements that apply to accessory structures. And the one thing we noticed in the code is that all accessory structures are limited to 200 square feet in area. And most swimming pools are quite a bit bigger than that. And that was never the intent to limit all the swimming pools in Roscoe to 200 square feet. And so the proposed text, there's a proposed amendment in the meeting packet. I can give you the page number. That would be on page 79, starting on page 79, and goes, I think it's two pages. Yep. And basically what we're doing is we are clarifying that all swimming pools are accessory structures, whether they're in ground or above ground. And then on the second page here, we're exempting swimming pools from that limit of 200 square feet. So staff recommends approval and I provided suggested findings of fact in the staff report.
Any questions from the board?
So we'll see, and I think some of you have seen this before, and we've been working on these for about, about a year now. I mean, you'll see these cleanups. So if you've got suggestions, obviously bring those to us. If there's things that you see like, hey, that doesn't seem quite right, bring those to us. We're trying to make a code that's enforceable and that's actually that the public can interpret, that we can interpret, and sort of be consistent on it. So that's our goal with some of these cleanups you'll see like this, where it's not just somebody saying, well, I guess we'll ignore it because it's a swimming pool, it doesn't make any sense. Well, our code says you can't have that. So we're trying to make it where the code says what we want it to say. Even if we sort of know what it's supposed to say, we're trying to make sure we get that wording into the code. So that's sort of the goal of a lot of these, this type of thing up you'll see. Yeah.
Okay. There's no questions, any public discussion, anyone else want to comment? Okay, we're in a position for someone to make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Number 9.
One second.
Motion.
I'm sorry. And Jurgensen?
Yes, and Ms. Scrivener's motion is to include the recommendations of the
Text amendments.
Thank you. Ms. Garza, if you'd like to go ahead and call the vote.
Okay. Smith,
Yes.
Swanton,
Yes.
Belush,
Yes.
Kutero,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
And Skrita.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think the last item that, this is the one that I thought was for.
This one is for discussion.
Discussion only,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little mixed up there. So is Jackie gonna talk
Yep.
about this?
Yep.
or-
You just want to read it in the title and then
Sure.
we'll have her.
I will go ahead and do that. This is the discussion on the Roscoe Main Street District text amendments.
All right. So the village has been working on creating 2 new zoning districts for the Main Street corridor. Many of you may be familiar with the Main Street District Plan, which lays out a vision for the future of Main Street, intending to make the downtown area more walkable, more exciting, very vibrant area where there's mixed use and downtown buildings and a real destination for the community. And that Main Street District Plan recommended the creation of 2 new zoning districts along Main Street. The idea was to have more downtown style development, more businesses, more residents, and just more development activity along that corridor. So we presented the draft language for the 2 new zoning districts at an open house held on July 23rd. We had a pretty good response from the public. And I believe that recording was sent out to ZBA members, so I'd encourage you to listen to that. You have to listen to my voice for a little bit longer and get a more deep dive into what's being proposed. The language and the map are included in your packets. This map is illustrating where we would anticipate mapping that the zoning, those new zoning districts to start. Although if any property owner along Main Street wished to request these new zoning districts, they could have a conversation with the village about rezoning their parcel with the right project. The red color on the map is what we're calling the Main Street Core District. This district is really a mixed use oriented district. By that we mean buildings that include typically a commercial or other non-residential use on the ground floor. So it could be retail, could be a dentist clinic, could be an office. And then on the upper floors, we would have residential. This district also allows for exclusively residential buildings and exclusively commercial buildings as well, but mixed use is really encouraged here. And then the Main Street Edge District is the kind of orange color on the map. That's intended to be somewhat of a transition between the taller buildings that might occur in the red areas and transitioning downward to the surrounding residential area. So that district is more oriented to residential uses. There is some amount of commercial that would be permitted there. Although I think the strongest market for commercial use really is on Main Street. So we're more likely to see residential as you move further away from Main Street. Both of these draft zoning districts include specific lists of land uses that are permitted in each district. I've sort of summarized those by saying, mix of uses, mixed use is really encouraged in the core, the red areas, and residential is probably more the emphasis in the orange edge areas. In all of these districts, or both of these districts, we're encouraging what I call downtown style buildings. So that's a building that comes right up to the sidewalk or pretty close to the sidewalk, typically 2 to 4 stories in height, minimal setbacks. So not a suburban pattern of development with a deep front lawn, but rather, urban style buildings that are right up to the sidewalk. The draft code includes design standards to ensure we have quality development, quality building materials, and to ensure we don't have long blank facades with no windows or any visual interest. So we've got standards to encourage and require quality design. We're looking at reduced parking requirements in this area because we're envisioning this as a walkable neighborhood. And the draft code also includes provisions for accessory dwelling units and accessory commercial units. And I think Joe mentioned that earlier in the meeting. Accessory dwelling units are basically a smaller structure on a residential property that can be another smaller dwelling unit on the property, could be a relative living there, could be rented to just a rental unit, but it's a way to bring more residents into the neighborhood. And likewise, the accessory commercial unit would be a smaller commercial building on a property that could be used for like a startup business or a smaller small commercial business that's maybe not quite ready to rent a full retail space. And so all of that would be reviewed. All development in these districts would be reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals. But these new districts would basically enable more active, more downtown and vibrant uses that the Main Street District Plan was hoping to achieve. So just in terms of next steps, we're hoping to bring this to public hearing in September. So these new districts would really constitute what a zoning text amendment, just like we reviewed earlier on this evening's agenda. Following the public hearing and recommendation by the Zoning Board of Appeals, that would be finally approved by the village board. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I had one question. When I did take a look at the video because I was unable to come to the meeting, but I think it was towards the end, they were talking about, there was a discussion about parking. Could you kind of expand on your thought? I didn't quite get it, exactly what we were saying, what you were saying and what you thought would be some kind of a practical there, because you have kind of a narrow street, and then you're talking about businesses and residential, and then limiting or not having any restrictions on parking or not restrictions, requirements for parking. So
yeah, so typically in the zoning code, the village requires a certain amount of parking for every development based on that type of development. So certain commercial units will have requirements based on square footage of that commercial use. And residential will typically have minimum parking requirements based on the number of dwelling units. So, for example, it could be something like 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. And so then we do the math to find out how much parking that building would require. In the draft plan, we were looking at having no parking requirements for residential, and then a smaller or reduced amount of parking for commercial. In subsequent conversations after the open house, we had a few conversations about probably wanting to add more parking for residential, require more parking for residential, but probably less than we would require elsewhere in the village, because we do want the village streets to absorb some of that parking need, but we don't think the village streets can accommodate all of what will be needed. And so that's something that we're going to look closely at.
And when you were talking about the structures, it was like you have the lower structure, you know, the mixed use for the commercial, and then how many, was it 3 stories or 4 stories? I couldn't remember what it exactly was.
Yeah, I believe it was minimum 2 stories and up to 4 stories in the core district. And then in the edge district, it was a maximum of 3 stories.
And then those upper levels would be more for residential as a whole. Street level.
Typically, yes. We wouldn't require commercial or non-residential uses on the ground level, except for right at the Bridge and Main Street intersection. That's a really important corner. And so we do want to see ground level retail or something similar there. Elsewhere, it's allowed, but not mixed use is allowed, but not required.
As you further go north on Main Street, is that where you're talking about, or?
Exactly. Yep.
And again, not to belabor the parking situation, but as you have more residential, as you go down Main Street, or even if you have the commercial towards Bridge Street and at that intersection, has anything really specifically been recommended or thought about? I know you said you had some discussions more because that issue came up. And the only reason that I'm bringing it up is that there just doesn't seem to be a lot of room. And if you're talking about 3 stories of, you know, possibly 2 to 3 stories of residential and then the commercial on the bottom, and I don't mean to say it like this, where are people going to park? But really, it would seem to be a concern, because if you want that traffic, because this isn't going to be considered a pedestrian mall where people are just walking back and forth. I think that it's an area that is going to have at least vehicle traffic to be able to get there. Maybe, you know, it would be ideal to have just people walking and going along, but it may not be reasonable. So it just seems to be kind of a concern that I was thinking about.
I agree. I think we do need to look more closely at that. One thing I will say is that on the map that Joe was showing before, there's probably only 2 areas where we're proactively rezoning. And so I'm viewing that sort of as a pilot project to see what types of development, thanks Joe, that we get in those areas and what the developers are proposing. And before we go ahead and rezone the whole corridor. And so this is a kind of a controlled way for us to test it out. So I think we can come up with something that is practical and good balance for the parking, but on the off chance we do need to tweak it, this sort of pilot project approach gives us that ability. And I think we noted at the public hearing as well that, you know, after the first project or 2 goes in, that might be a moment for us to assess the parking situation and whether it's the village wants to look for more public parking opportunities or we change our requirements. That might be the trigger for us to have that conversation.
Well, that seems to make sense, because you're not going to know anything until there are some businesses there, there's some residences there, and you know, you're going to know what it is, because right now it's just a guess on what it is. So I think it really is a good idea, just to try to get the pilot going and, just see where we're at after that. That was the only real concern tonight. Anybody else?
So the intent is just the intent's not to change underlying zoning of these shaded areas.
The
Is that
intent
correct?
is to rezone these shaded areas to the new zoning districts.
I guess I got a question that, and forgive my ignorance, I've not looked at all the specifics, but for example, Casey's is in your Main Street core district, correct?
Joe, can you show me on the map which parcel that is?
It's around the
Right here.
southeast corner.
And again, this is just the, sort of the general areas on these. This discussion is to adopt or to look at the zoning ordinance itself, and necessarily to rezone these parcels. So
Okay.
when those, at that point, once this goes through all the boards, out back to you, back to our village board. And then ultimately, when we actually sort of narrow down the actual parcels, they may not be those exact parcels. It's more showing the areas we're gonna sort of focus on first on
The
those.
intent,
So.
Yes,
Okay.
some of those may not be, some of those are gonna say like, Casey's probably wouldn't make any sense to rezone for that, right? That would
Right.
be commercial, whatever it is right now, commercial heavy or commercial general. But these are the general sort of first areas we wanna sort of look at.
Okay.
And try to get this district down here, where we would sort of proactively say, yeah, we're gonna try to rezone these here. We're not gonna force anybody against their will to do it, but these are where we wanna sort of like aim for. Are these areas.
Okay.
They may be tweaked, and some of them may be, more practical to be the core district or the edge district, but. For this purpose, these are the general starting areas.
Okay.
This is not the rezoning process. What we're
Okay.
talking about tonight and even
Oh,
probably the next few months, whatever, 6 months, 8 months, I don't know how long we can put this through, but. This is not the rezoning. This is just the breaking the districts.
okay,
So
that's what,
and trying to get those.
So,
Yeah.
Joe, how important is it to discuss the parking concerns that are being described in these zoning?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
absolutely, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important
Um,
because we're a rural community where
Yeah.
most people coming for business here are driving a car.
Yeah. I will note though, and part of the changes you'll see on here that they've added in here, and this is, yeah, absolutely, these discussions are what we need to have. That's why we're having these discussions, and it will come back before you again, this exact thing with whatever tweaks you make is coming back before the ZBA again. This is your first sort of talking about it. When we've been trying to build, when we've tried to work with developers sometimes along Main Street, just some of the buildings we have currently, one of the biggest issues we get because of just how the property sort of laid out and the sizes is the parking. And we have people saying, why can't I count some of the street parking? Or you'll see a lot of these have the parking right in front of the buildings. Can that be counted? It's in right of way, it's on the street. Technically, it's a street parking. But when we're counting the parking lot area or the parking spot stalls for those, how are we counting those? Shouldn't we be able to count the street parking a little bit for some of these Main Street locations? And really for the village, Main Street's the only place we really have where there is sort of a street parking area. We don't really have other places where you would necessarily count street parking, but we do have that on Main Street. So this is sort of to address that as well a little bit too. So yeah, maybe it needs to be, maybe we do need to bump up the total required more on some of these, but it's acknowledging that we do have street parking. We don't have, we do, right? There is street parking here and people park on the streets going to different businesses. So it's trying to get that balance of how do we address the fact that, yeah, we do have street parking. We should probably be able to count that for something. And not require a parking lot in the back or have all the, off-street parking on all of these too. So I was trying to reduce that and sort of realize, that, yeah, and some people will be walking, you'll park here and you'll hopefully walk down the way just a little bit. So maybe you don't have to have, off-street parking at every single one of those businesses, maybe that can be adjusted a little bit. So that's really what we're sort of trying to do with this parking. Maybe it's not saying 0 parking requirements or unregulated completely. And what Jack is talking about is trying to get that, what's that fine balance of what we can actually accommodate down here. And if we can get things built out, what we want to see down here, do you want all street parking or do we want to maybe have counts with it on street parking or maybe, side streets? So it's all a balance on it, trying to figure those through.
I was just looking like at the existing businesses,
Mhm.
and the bank across the street for that matter. But if this is rezoned and later they want to do something that, I don't know, tweak the building or something, they find out they're non-conformist in this code.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an issue.
Mhm.
Again, I mean, and we're not gonna just say absolutely you have to do this. We'll be working with the property owners on these. And a lot of these properties along Main Street are ones where we're trying to redevelop into something. A lot of them are empty. Some of them are ones we've just redone.
And that makes
Or you'll
sense.
see the single, so we'll see some of them where we've had asking about the commercial dwelling unit or the commercial accessory units and the accessory dwelling units. We've had questions about those, can I put this on my property? Can I put like the storage shed, right? Can I put, or for the bikes, right? Can I put this on a property that's already has something on it? Can I drop this down here, put this here and sell out of it and have a business out of here? So that's what a lot of this addresses. So we've had those requests from people on Main Street as well. And I'm guessing that, we're gonna sort of aim for this first group here, but I'm guessing there'll be other properties along Main Street, property owners who are gonna be asking to have some of these, either the core or the edge zoning district. So they can do a little more with their property, something a little different on their property. And we're hoping that sort of spurs that on. They have a little more flexibility, a little more different, use that they can do for it. And parking is definitely one of those things because, you've got these, uses there. Right now, we don't really take into account the on-street parking. We really don't take into account that you might park here at this business, and this business, but we're saying you have to have parking for all these businesses have to have parking to accommodate that one car that's parking there. So yeah, I don't think there's a perfect answer, but we're trying to get some balance for there. It's trying to get some flexibility that we can always tweak, we can always change. And yeah, these comments and this feedback, I've tired of blacked off here, but Vanderwall, Jackie and Hillary and everybody else working there, then at Village staff too, and our engineers, Fairgram. We're all taking these comments into consideration and trying to make something that we think can work, so.
Have we looked at other areas for their zoning on this?
Yeah, I mean, Vanderwall particularly, you guys, Hillary or I guess you're new at Vanderwall, but Jackie can probably address it. Yeah, they've worked in many municipalities, doing just different types of rezoning like this, where you got different downtown districts and. Yeah, we've looked at different locations across the country actually on these. And initially, even for our just the general Main Street plan we have, we've looked at different examples all around and trying to figure out what will work for the village. Obviously, we're not Brockton, right? We don't have those pre-built buildings. We don't have the old buildings on Main Street. We have sort of a fresh start, a little mixed use start right now. So we're trying to consolidate that into sort of one standardized type of zoning. So then when people come in and ask, we can sort of say, yeah, here, do this. Let's try to get this to look a certain way. And then, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I mean, it's not an overnight process, but at least we have that sort of foundation for it.
Yeah, I would echo that. And I would say, kind of building on what you said, Joe, is that it's not an if you build it, they will come type situation. I think creating the district is an important part because it removes some of the barriers to the type of development we do want to see on Main Street. But there's kind of a comprehensive package of things that the village needs to do to bring development interest to the community. And I know the village is doing some of that now, working with various consultants and, the retail incubator and other investments by the village. That sends a message to residents and the community at large that the village is investing, the village is committed to this area. Those things are just as important as having the right zoning district in place to ensure new investment from the broader community and from developers.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone from the public that would like to make any comments? Yes, thank you.
I have interest in potentially, after my lease runs out, I've got queries into people now about building in the red zone. And particularly a lot right there where there's no other commercial buildings in the frontage property there. But my question is whether I would be required to build a 2-story there when pretty much the precedence is all single-story brick in that particular area. Would I still be required to go? I know you're saying strongly suggest, but you know, how strongly, if I want to, build a building there, am I gonna be required to do that, to do a two-story? It'll be more financial burdensome for me to build a second story. You know, I need about a 5,000 square foot building, roughly, and there's a good spot down there. But I need to know what kind of construction that I can, use so that I can kind of cost that out. Obviously, steel structure structure is not gonna go. I got the no for that. But what can I do in that area? It is in the red zone, like right at the beginning of the edge of the red zone there.
And we're not talking to your properties, but I mean, I know you've been talking with
Hillary,
Hillary a lot on this. But I will say there's no requirements for multi-story. Correct, Jackie? I don't think we have any place requiring saying you have to have multi-story here. I
Right,
think it's
right
allowing
now,
maximum.
right now, our core district requires 2 stories.
Okay, we're going for the core district, yeah.
And that, so I guess what I'd like to say is there's kind of 2 issues at hand here. So one is that Todd is looking at a parcel that currently has a different zoning, and he's asking for direction from us on that. And I don't think this is the appropriate venue for that because it's not on our agenda. But we could talk abstractly about, this is a good kind of test study for, you know, case study for, you know, if that property does get rezoned to our Main Street core, what type of requirements would apply. And so we would require, at least as it's drafted currently, a 2-story building fronting Main Street in that location. We'd have higher standards for exterior building requirements. I think a commercial use would be permitted. But so that's something I want the ZBA to think about, you know, as we go into our next meetings. You know, what would you want to see on those parcels and what would you not want to see? And we want to make sure our code reflects that.
well, that's why I pose the question now, because if it's gonna be a requirement to have a 2-story, it kind of puts me out of the running for doing that. I don't think our budget would fit that. So that's why I asked. I don't need approval, no, I'm just, you know.
And right now,
You're
nobody's.
talking about changing the language.
Yeah, there's nobody zoned these yet. We don't even have a final code yet. So
Right.
yeah, that's why it's sort of, I mean, we're generally talking about this, but it's sort of hard to.
Right, but if you're gonna put language into the code requiring it, that kind of puts it down for me right there. So I just kind of wonder where we're going.
Well, that's the purpose, Jackie, for us to all think about that, what direction we're going. Hillary and I were talking a little bit before the meeting. You know, if you look at Main Street right now, it's really a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. And it was all, as Hillary was saying, all done at different periods of time, maybe with no thought, no vision, like, well, yeah, that sounds good to do it. Yeah, what Mr. Kurlinkus is saying, that's just, you know, let's start getting some uniformity and you know, get a look, and I guess you gotta decide where you're gonna be and what the requirements are, so that's, I think, part of our job is to be able to do that, because if we don't, then at some point, we're gonna be back to the square one, just like we are now, yeah, just different things. So, you know, it's not a huge stretch, but it's a pretty good stretch. You're able to do a lot with stuff, so just kind of, that's all. Is there anything else that anyone has to say, or? I think we've addressed everything you'll see on the agenda, right on the end. We'll show you. Through a second. Okay. And if we can just go ahead and call the roll on adjournment.
Just need to, or just,
No, just, okay,
you made a motion, anyone else?
I can't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right, okay. Anyone opposed to adjournment? How's that?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, well, the meeting's adjourned and we got 5 for the next one.
I'll say one last thing, on point. This is not just part of the meeting, but just sort of, we'll email this out to all of the members. Guys, just 1 minute, if you could make 1 minute, so it affects the the microphones. I know
Sorry.
you had talked, that's the only reason why I asked, but. So we've got, there's a virtual, APA Illinois is American Planning Association's Illinois chapter. It has a plan commissioner training. So you guys are the zoning board and plan commission, they're combined here. I think it's probably a really good thing to think about. Consider it's a virtual thing, a virtual event that takes place on October 29th. If you're able to go, we'll email us out to everybody, take a look at that, they'll always be happy to pay for it. As part of your PA training here. But this will go over a lot of what we're talking about tonight, and I know Jackie and Hillary will probably continue to talk about these sort of help train as we go on this. But this is sort of one-stop shop to go through, development processes, findings of fact, what those are, sort of the basics of zoning, basic program planning, what we're looking at, what you're looking at, come through here. We'll email this out to everybody so you've got it. If you're interested in having us register for you, let us know. Just reply back to Janelle or myself, and we'll make sure you get registered for it. So you can say it's October 29th from 7 till 9 p.m. It's through Zoom. Get there, it's a live session, so you actually, it's not just one-way presentation, they'll answer questions you have, they'll be able to have discussions with it as well. So those conversations. So we'll email those out, take a look at that. Consider doing that.
That's October 29th, you said?
October 29th. Someone's back 2 hours, virtually. That'd be a lot.